Veggies are really important for gut health, for achieving a fat loss goal, as well as just general health. But there are some mistakes you're making when you buy them at the grocery store that could be causing you to eat moldy, tainted, or just simply less nutrient-dense veggies. And every time I go to the grocery store, I see so many people making these same mistakes. And today I'm sharing those 8 super common mistakes to avoid when buying your veggies at the grocery store. Let's dive into it. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's nutrition human performance, and today's video is sponsored by Element. More on them in a bit. Okay, this first one is not checking for mold on the bottom of your veggie containers. Now, this is probably more common with fruit than veggies, but there are some veggies like mini peppers or some others like tomatoes, which technically is a fruit actually, but various produce is often going to be in containers, like those plastic containers. From the top, they always look good. They look fresh, they look bright, they look delicious, and so the mistake I see people make is they just go ahead and they take that container and they add it to their grocery cart. But then they get home and then they open it up and they see that at the bottom there's like some moldy, gross, either veggies or fruit. This is because those bottom like veggies or fruit will get crushed, they get squished, their juices get released, and then they get moldy. So if you are going to buy veggies that are in these containers, which I would advise not to do just because it's easiest to avoid this mistake simply by buying them individually. But if you have to buy them in containers, always flip the container over and see if you can check the bottom as well. And even the sides, just like inspect all corners of the veggie container to make sure you're not taking home moldy veggies or fruit. Okay, the second mistake is buying out of season veggies. Now, the reason why people think this is a mistake is because you're getting less nutrient dense veggies, which is absolutely true. You're going to get the most nutrient dense veggies during the time when it's actually supposed to be produced. But the biggest reason why I think that this is a mistake to buy veggies that are out of season is because of the issue of bugs. When a food is out of season, you're much more likely to get various bugs on your food. For example, I try to avoid buying cauliflower and broccoli during like July because almost always without fail, whenever I bring it home, I cut into it, the whole broccoli or cauliflower is just covered in aphids. And yeah, you can eat them. It's safe to eat them. I don't want to eat them. I definitely lose my appetite when I see like a whole family reunion of aphids on my broccoli. But there are going to be times when you do buy something out of season. So if you do, make sure that you're checking for bugs, or at least the option that has the lowest amount of bugs, because you can like try and wash some of it off. It doesn't really work, and it is totally safe to eat. But if you get squeamish about like seeing aphids all over your veggies, then you'll want to make sure that you're buying your produce during the season it should be produced in. The easiest way to do this is to shop at a farmer's market because they typically can't grow things that are not in season. But if that's not an option for you, just get familiar with what's in season, try to eat the most seasonal options, or just know that you need to check for aphids. Okay, the third very big mistake that costs people so much money is incorrectly timed produce. Some produce goes bad very quickly. Others last like 5 days. Others last even longer than that. You really need to make sure you factor this in when you're buying groceries, especially in relation to when you're going to be making those foods so that you're not wasting a ton of produce. A classic example of this would be like buying avocados, which again, I know is not technically a vegetable. Avocados have like 24 hours in which they are tasty. So if you know you're not going to be having avocados until like Thursday and it's Sunday when you're buying it, you don't want to buy a really ripe avocado. Otherwise, it's going to go bad before you can have it. But also on the same note, if you know that you're going to have avocados like the next day, you don't want to buy a really hard avocado. Same goes for something like leafy greens. Leafy greens tend to have a pretty short lifespan in which it actually tastes good. So you want to make sure you're having it during like the earlier part of the week when you go to buy it. But then on the flip side, there's other veggies that last a while, like carrots or cabbage. Both of those can last a little bit inside of the fridge. So you don't have to stress as much about when you're going to be having those various veggies during the week. And before I move on, I want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Element. In fact, per usual, I'm drinking my grapefruit Element right now as we film. Always so good. The classic flavor. This is one you guys need to try. Element is an amazing electrolyte company that was specifically created with intermittent fasting, low carb eating, and athletes in mind. It actually contains the sodium, magnesium, and potassium to help balance electrolyte levels, all without having any sugar. I've been using Element for over 3 years. I love how it makes me feel. I feel so much more energized and focused when I actually have my electrolytes. I also notice that I recover better from my workouts when I'm on top of having my electrolytes. And because I'm a nutritionist, I know how important electrolytes are. Before I started using Element, I was using just regular salt. And because it doesn't taste great to dump some salt inside of your water, I was not very consistent with it. But I am so consistent with Element because it actually tastes delicious. Element comes in a lot of different flavors, like my all-time favorite, which is the grapefruit salt, but they also have other flavors too, like their raspberry, orange, and citrus salt. And right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single-serve packets free with any Element order. It's a really great way to test out all 8 flavors, so you can get yours at drinkelement.com/autumn. It is only available through my link, so make sure to check out drinklmnt.com/autumn. The link is also in the description down below. Okay, the 4th mistake is buying bagged lettuce. From my experience, lettuce or leafy greens that are in a bag tend to go bad really fast. That's because moisture can get trapped in these bags, and especially for like these sensitive and soft leafy greens, it can make them get like moldy and icky and gross. Plus, this produce is usually older and less fresh compared to just regular romaine lettuce that you're going to buy in the produce section. So when possible, to get something that's more fresh and also that's going to last a little bit longer, I always recommend trying to go for the non-bagged lettuce or the pre-packaged lettuces, but instead go for ones that are not stored in a bag. Which, on that same note, the 5th is bagged veggies. So bagged veggies like Brussels sprouts or radishes or peppers or green beans don't have the same problem as lettuce. There's actually not a huge issue at all really with having bagged veggies if that's what's available to you. But the issue I have with bagged veggies is that you can't pick how much you actually need, which always does lead to a lot of waste. Some stores don't give you the option, like our local Whole Foods. If we want Brussels sprouts, we have to buy the 1-pound bag of Brussels sprouts. But a lot of other smaller health food stores, or if you go to like a farmer's market, do give you the option. So I specifically usually get my produce at a smaller local health food store down the street from us, because we can individually pick out radish or individually pick out Brussels sprouts and make sure that we're getting the exact amount we need versus overbuying. Okay, 6th really big mistake is not removing the leaves from radish, carrots, and beets. You can actually eat the leaves of all of these, although if you're getting it from a typical grocery store, it's probably a little old and gross and you probably don't want to eat it. But if it seems pretty fresh, then you can add it into a salad or cook it up. But the big thing you need to make sure that you're doing is always taking the tops off of the radish, the carrots, and the beets, and either storing them separately or eating them right away. And that's because these tender greens portion of the veggies goes bad a lot faster, and then it'll make it so the rest of the vegetable goes bad faster too. Okay, the 7th mistake is buying pre-cut veggies. As soon as veggies are cut, the clock is set for how quickly it'll go bad. Before veggies are cut into, there's this protective layer over the veggies, and as soon as you cut into it, it starts to go bad a lot faster. Now, there's a time and place to be using pre-cut veggies. Like if you know you're going to be using it that night, and if you really are in a pinch and you just need to save that few extra minutes of chopping time, then by all means, grab some pre-chopped veggies. But if not, I would recommend going for the more fresh option of the uncut veggies so that you have more control over when you can actually use it before it goes bad. Okay, the 8th mistake I see people making all the time is completely avoiding frozen veggies. People tend to think that frozen veggies are not as healthy for you, but this really actually couldn't be further from the truth. Usually veggies are frozen at their nutritional prime, so it's a great way to eat out of season veggies. Like I love doing this with broccoli and cauliflower. Plus, if you're adding veggies into something like smoothies, it's actually better to use frozen veggies than fresh. And that's because fresh veggies can be a little bit harder to break down, harder to digest, especially if you're talking about like kale or spinach, but frozen veggies are cooked and then frozen. So you can pretty much always find frozen kale and frozen spinach inside my own freezer. Now, when I'm at the grocery store, I also see a lot of people making really common egg buying mistakes. So make sure you check out this video next so you can completely avoid those. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.